saying that sometimes what frustrates us most in other people is something that we have in abundance within us. So now we have a lot of Nigerians clamoring for fair treatment from the government. They want the government to treat them better. We also have to take in mind that it is part of the people that we have our leaders. So does this not mean that there's something fundamentally wrong with a lot of Nigerians, and it's something each individual have to work on himself, try to look at his tendencies to want to cheat his neighbor, his tendency of wanting to have his way at all times. We also have employers who treat their staff poorly. And this, because I look at a lot of organizations and I see that what we are complaining about that the federal government is doing to us, it's also what we are doing to ourselves in our own little domain where we are ruling. So does this not mean that each Nigerian has to look in himself to try to correct these things? And perhaps with that we might have a long-lasting change. Because if every individual is good, then definitely the government has to be good.
Well, I think that argument takes us to this point at which some members of our society would always say that those that live in the society appears to be the problem of the society itself. I totally disagree with that. I think it's a way of simplifying the entirety of what is wrong with our immediate society. And it is also a way of, it's like when you pick a bird and you strip this bird off of its entire feathers, and you're expecting this bird to fly like other birds. That's impossible. In fact, that's clearly unfair treatment. You cannot rob me of the entirety of my feathers and expect me to fly like other birds right up in the sky. It is impossible. The Nigerian state is responsible for whatever becomes the lot of the Nigerian people. And we shouldn't make any excuse about that. The Nigerian state symbolizes, the parent. We symbolizes the children. So whatever happens, we all know that the children will always draw their inspiration from their parents. That's the reality. The father, the mother, whatever, your words would always draw their inspiration in life, directly from you guys. You are the source.
Where does free will comes in there? Because everyone is responsible, regardless of how we are raised.
Yeah, but you see, when you are living in a society that has refused to prioritize education, for instance, how do you expect, members of or an army of members of that society to clearly understand, normal situation? This society is not a knowledge-driven society. Let us not forget that. And it is intentional, so that for us not to begin to think that actually, whatever backward activities, whatever vices that we can pinpoint to in this society, they are vices that are inspired by those that are ruling us. And we make no apologies about it. The fact that we have an army of young people today that are not employed, and a section of them have gone into internet fraudster and what have you, it is a reflection of backward policies such as the one that we are dealing with as at this particular point in time. People draw inspiration from their leaders. We shouldn't fall into this narrative that that it is not people draw. No. People draw their inspiration from those that it only takes, the consistency of people like us, in understanding that this is wrong. Like you cannot hook, line and sinker, copy the entirety of the traits of these elements when you in fact know that they do not mean well for you. So, for instance, on the basis of my own level of consciousness, I'm able to understand that this is wrong and this is right. But unfortunately, not enough, not an adequate number of our people have that opportunity of this level of reasoning of social consciousness. Because you can only give what you have.
Definitely. All right, now to Comrade Razak Olokoba. So when we are talking about change, that we people have to contribute to change themselves. Change starts from the people, even if you're going to say that it starts from the government. But whenever we are having elections, we always see, we might say that, okay, like elections are always free and fair, but we do know for sure that bribery takes place during election. And while we are having people complaining, these are still the same people who would accept bribes during election and vote for probably the person who is paying them the highest. So in cases like this, do we still have the right to blame the leaders for the problems we are having in Nigeria? Or do you also think that Nigerians need to actually look inward and try to see what they can do better for the country?
Well, thank you very much. There are quite a lot of issues that an umbilical cord, but as much as possible, separate it. First and foremost, if you are and like strategy, you will continue to ignore. And that's the point I made when I made a reference to ASU, that their struggle lack time and strategy. I'm a product of ASU struggle now. I spent 9 years on campus for 4 years. So, and I've been protesting for 35 years of my life, since 1989. So, a country where you have to review your struggle and know the appropriate strategy. I said, and I'm going to repeat, that ASU using the student folder making their demand is just wrong. And it's going to work. We have been in this since 1999. Has that changed the mind of the government? On the time when you drag the children of everybody into Nigerian education, that's when you pay attention.
Okay, all right, we are running out of time. So could you please share with us your view? Sorry to cut short the flow of your thought, but could you please share with us your view on how Nigerians themselves need to be honest and so that we will prevent this issue of leadership? Because we are running out of time. You only have about a minute left.
My young colleague, my younger comrade, because I have to say that, call him a younger strong, so that if you understand and make there's a generational difference between me and that those will learn from the older comrades, that we don't want to learn until we look at the experience of other people. We have to quickly go back to what they have said, that they were right. What is said about the people is correct, that you can't hold the people responsible for their attitude. But my disagreement with him is that we need to proceed further. That how can we come out of this? Our institutions are weak, and that is why it turned Nigeria to what we are today. If you have a strong, what do you mean by a strong? When political class have hold on the system, it's an appointee of the president who is also the stakeholder in the election. That is wrong. Election will not be fair. INEC chairman is an appointee of the president. So, and that's what I'm saying, that your strategy, the content of our struggle is correct, but we must understand what is wrong with it. What is it's a structural issue. Structural issue is what decimated our people. There is no country that will suffer economic depression that will not suffer a corresponding moral depression. That's why you saw a young man doing a Yahoo. But that's not an excuse for them to continue to the other children who don't do Yahoo, who do other jobs.
Thank you so much.
The role of
I'm so sorry, people. I have to cut you short because we are fast running out of time. Thank you so much. Now, I would have to ask Abilade Kerefe, the former US national spokesperson, what would be your advice to the people and government at this time? Because despite the fact that the President Bola Tinubu has said that they should cut short the protest, we still have Nigerians, like my guest in the studio, who is still saying that they're still going out to protest. So what would be your advice to the people and the government? Please, very quickly.
Well, for me, if the government is sincere, and if they are ready to implement whatever decision that may arrive at the end of a dialogue, I don't have a problem with that. The only problem I have is that politicians are very smart. They might want to use this dialogue as an excuse to demoralize Nigerians who have come out to protest peacefully to demand for social change and social justice. And part of the reason why people are not believing the government is because of previous dialogues that have taken place in this country. Those dialogues were swept under the carpet, even when decisions were reached. The government did not implement those decisions. So what are the assurances that the president is giving to the Nigerian people that this dialogue, if it takes place, definitely it will be implemented to the latter and the social structure of Nigeria will change for the betterment of the average Nigerian person. That is basically the fear of every Nigerian person. So the onus lies on the presidency to now convince Nigerians that the dialogue will not just be a jamboree, that serious discussions will be reached and the government will implement them immediately, and not just these theoretical statements that we have been getting from the government. That is my position.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Sadly, this is where we draw the curtains close on today's episode of Firecrackers.